Greetings and salutations from beautiful Greenville, North Carolina. Brr, 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 brr. Welcome back to my channel. So it is once again that time of the month, time to talk about those monthly pickups. This time we are covering December, even though it is January. Don't worry about it. That's how these things work around these parts. Now, this may be the first month ever that I did not have a massive manga haul. This time I was a little bit more restrained this month, though a bit more of my focus has been on figures lately. And of course, you got to make some sacrifices in between. But also, to be completely honest with you, there were not a lot of books that came out in December. In fact, quite a few of them got pushed back. Nonetheless, it's still some great stuff that I picked up, some old stuff, some new stuff, some more smutty stuff, because I know how much you guys like that, you little perverts out there. I know you all little perverts. But anyway, lots of great stuff to cover in this particular video, so I'm not going to ramble on too much. Let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, remember, if you are vibing with this video or any of my other content, go ahead, do your boy a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. Let me know that you fucks with your boy. You feel me? The long way. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this manga haul.
All right, and we are kicking off this month's releases with one of my favorite series of last year, Go 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 Ghost, and this is volume 2, and let me tell you, it was just as enjoyable as the first one. Tons of shenanigans. I actually have already read this one all the way through, and man, what a great story they're telling here. I don't know how many volumes this is going to end up being, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's basically about this character here. I forget her name, but essentially she's had a really rough time, and she meets a spirit, this guy right here, who basically helps her enact revenge on people who cross her. That's the long and short of it. It's way more nuanced than that, but we're starting to see some ramifications of her actions in this particular volume and just seeing what the effects are of basically cursing people. But yeah, great volume. If you have not heard of this series, I'd highly recommend it right now. There are only 2 volumes out, so very easy to get into, but definitely one of my favorites of 2024, and glad to have picked up volume 2 in December. Now, our next volume is going to be I Wanna Do Bad Things With You, Volume 3, and it is not what you think it is. It is a quirky little high school kind of rom-com situation, and it has been an incredible read so far. I have thoroughly enjoyed this book. The art is excellent. The character development has been great. These characters are lovable, and you just really want to root for them. I would definitely recommend, if you haven't heard of this series, definitely checking it out. But it basically follows this awkward high school girl who ends up meeting a rich kid who is also awkward and has a lot of health issues, who basically has a lifelong beef with his brother for reasons that you find out in the first couple of volumes. And essentially, he spends a lot of his time doing bad things to spite his perfect brother. She becomes his minion, but she's also slowly but surely falling in love with him. And it is absolutely adorable and cool. And they just keep introducing new characters that kind of twist this plot around. Absolutely love this book. Would highly recommend it. If you have not read it yet, this has been another one that I thought was really great in 2024. The next volume is one that actually surprised me a lot, and that's the Hachioji specialty, Tengu's Love. I was not terribly sure about this when I first started reading it. This one is volume 2, by the way, if I didn't mention. Was not terribly sure about this when I first started reading it. And then about midway through the book, everything started clicking for me, and I started loving this series. Basically, the long and short of it is the 2 main characters in this book, a Tengu and a guy, just like a random dude who pretty much lost his whole family, had met when he was younger. She was kind of there for him, low-key. It's hard to really tell too much of this without going too in depth about what the story is, but the long and short of it is she was there for him. A number of things happen. They are supposed to get married, but he's like, wait a minute, I ain't trying to do that, but I will definitely take you back with me. You can live with me and you can kind of enjoy the world on your own. And then they slowly but surely start falling in love, and it is a really cool and interesting series with lots of kind of twists and turns. And one thing I would say about this series series, it is very, very Japanese. They do a lot of cooking, a lot of talking about food, and the food specifically is very, very Japanese, which I don't really mind. I think I've actually learned quite a bit about Japanese cuisine reading this little cute romance story. But yeah, very, very good storytelling in this book. Definitely would recommend it for you romance heads out there. This one was great. Pick it up. So our next book is Kisenoke is Flunking Her High School Glow Up, and this is another one that has been one of my favorite books of 2024. This one's volume 3, so we're just continuing down that road of high school, juicy high school dramedy, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Now, if you're not really familiar, and another pink-haired girl, if you're not familiar with Kisenoke is Flunking Her High School Glow Up, essentially it's exactly how it sounds. Kisenoke was a little bit of a loner and loser when she was in middle school, decides that she wants to have her high school debut. And though she's kind of nailing it with the look, she does not know how to talk to people. So our main character, whose name I forget, there's so many names, he and Kisenoke are familiar with each other from middle school. They used to sit in the same library, even if they didn't talk to each other. And she ends up pulling up on him and being like, hey, bro, I don't know how to make friends. Can you help me out? And he decides to help her. And so you kind of start to see the romance build from there with all the classic misunderstandings and everything in between. And much like I Want to Do Bad Things with You, they're constantly introducing like these new characters that turn out to be like critical members of like the crew or whatever. So it's just like a really cool and cute story where, you know, we kind of are meeting these new characters and seeing how they're handling these different situations. It's super cool. I actually love this story. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this book if you are into high school romances. I happen to like them a little bit. I mean, I prefer adult romances overall, but this is one of the better high school romances out, one of the better newer ones, at least in my opinion. But yeah, Kisenoke's Flunking Her High School Glow Up, Volume 3, been one of my favorites of the year. Would definitely recommend it if you have not read this one. Now, our next book is going to be No Longer Heroine, Volume 8. I've talked about this in another one of my videos. I have been loving this story so far, and we're actually starting to approach the end game in this one. I think it ends at Volume 9 or 10, so we're approaching the end game. I haven't read this one yet. I think I got this one like very close to the end of December, and I just didn't get around to reading it. I almost don't even want to open it up because I don't want to know what happens, but I am current otherwise, other than this book. But yeah, this is a whole bunch of juicy shoujo drama. I mean, all the stuff you love, a little bit of a love triangle or square, you know, a whole bunch of stuff going on, childhood friend. Like, I don't know how much better I can sell this story to you, but I am telling you, if you have not read this, I would highly recommend it because I have been thoroughly enjoying this particular story and all the juicy messiness that I get from it every time a volume drops. So No Longer Heroine, Volume 8, I definitely feel like it's kind of falling by the wayside, or not falling by the wayside, but definitely like falling under the radar. And it may be because it's a little bit of an older series. It's been out for a while, or, you know, it's been complete for a while. So a lot of people know what happens and they don't like the ending. But I have really enjoyed the journey so far. So No Longer Heroine, man, one of my favorite like shoujo series of, I don't know about all time because I haven't read a lot of shoujo, but it's definitely been one of my favorite shoujo series for sure. So next up, we have Nina the Starry Bride, volumes 1 and 2, or 1 and 2. Now, this is one that I have heard several recommendations that I should read, and actually Amazon had volume 1 for free through their Kindle app, and I ended up picking up volume 1 through there. I read about the first 3-4 pages of it, and I decided that I think I want to read this series. And essentially, the way it works out is the main character, this girl here, starts off as basically like a poor kid, you know, living with 2 kids who she, you know, that she didn't have any blood relation to, but she felt like were her brothers. One of the kids dies. The other one sells her off into slavery, so to think. But actually, they're going to use her to replace a princess that had died. And a whole bunch of stuff happens based on that. And it has been great so far. Like I said, I've only read the first couple of pages of it, but that was enough to sell me on it, on top of all the recommendations that I got for this particular book. But yeah, the covers are beautiful, classic shoujo style. Actually, I love how the covers are kind of embossed here too, which is like just a really nice touch to the book, especially because it only comes in at what, like $12.99, so $13. You get a really high quality book. But then also, I mean, you even get colored pages here. I mean, they were going for it with this one, but also you get really gorgeous artwork in here. And like I said, it's, you know, straight up shoujo style. Just absolutely beautiful artwork, and absolutely interesting world that I'm, kind of excited to dig in and figure out like what's going on in this world, because like there's definitely a reason why they needed to replace that princess. So I'm stupid excited to read this one. I know this one had an anime adaptation, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it had an anime adaptation. I'm probably going to read or catch up on it before I even dip into that, much like I'm doing with My Dress Up Darling. But yeah, I didn't even know it had an anime until like today when I was watching somebody else talk about this series. So yeah, super excited to start reading this. I think this is going to be a great series. I've always heard it was a great series, or from what I've heard, it's a great series. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in and see what's up. Now, our next book, Heroine Saint. No, I'm an all works made and proud of it. I believe is based actually on a light novel. Now, this one I don't know too much about, and I can't even tell you why I wanted to buy this. I had the urge to just read some made content, maybe because I was going to buy this book Blend S, and I did not like the panel layout on Blend S, and I wanted to read something made related, so I picked this up. I did hear pretty decent things about this though. I believe the premise is, and I'm going to kind of cheat and look at the back here, but meet Melody, a Japanese maid fanatic reincarnated into a new world where she lives out her dream as an all-purpose maid. From brewing luxury tea out of cheap tea leaves to transforming a rundown mansion into pristine perfection, she's got it all covered. But here's the twist. Melody has no idea she's in an otami game, destined to become the heroine with near invincible powers. All she cares about is becoming the best maid in the world. Can Melody uncover the truths behind her incredible abilities while staying true to her maidly passion? Who knows? But sounds pretty interesting to me. Kind of a nice little twist on the isekai genre. I figured this was an isekai. I mean, it has a long isekai name, but yeah, seems like it's going to be a cool book to read. So I'm kind of excited to dig in. I mean, at worst, it'll just be isekai trash, and I'm always down for some isekai trash. Like, I can pretty much read nearly any isekai with any kind of premise because it's just always interesting. As long as it's got like decent world building, I'm going to be there for it. So, but yeah, the artwork is looking pretty solid so far. I mean, it's not too crazy, at least from what I see right now. And obviously I haven't read it yet, so it may be better when I read it. But, artwork looks pretty decent, looks a little better than serviceable. But mostly I think the premise is kind of interesting. Like, I want to see how this story plays out. So yeah, I'm going to be reading volume 1 and we'll see if we'll stick with it from there. So the next thing we picked up is a series of books, actually, which is complete. And there are like kind of some older books, honestly. That's going to be Tokyo Boys and Girls volumes 1 through 5. Like I said, it is complete at 5 volumes. I can't get it all in the shot here, but it is complete at 5 volumes. I picked this up from a seller on eBay. I don't know too much of the premise. I just honestly, which is probably the worst reason to buy these, but I like the covers. It kind of reminded me of like some Nana-esque shit, so I thought I would give it a shot. But basically, it's about somebody getting accepted into a nice high school, gets to wear super fashionable uniform, excited about having fun for freshman year, but things don't turn out as effortlessly as she had hoped. The school year starts off well when she befriends the beautiful Nana, Nana, but things quickly turn sour for her when she's chosen as class representative. Through a series of unfortunate events, she finds herself the focus of attention of 3 boys and her teachers for all the wrong reasons. She's reunited with Atushi, a boy she knew in elementary school, and turns out he despises her for allegedly bullying him in the grade school days. In fact, he plans the exact little revenge. Okay, well, it sounds a little juicy to me. You know me, I like a little bit of juice. Sorry I had to read the back of that, but I really didn't know what it was about. I just thought the covers looked interesting. I thought maybe like a fashionable shoujo, high school, jump off might be a fun read. And then on top of that, I mean, it's only 5 volumes. So like, why would I not dip in and see what's good? And I mean, the fashion is looking on point in this already. So you already sold me on this, and the artwork is looking pretty damn good too. So I'm super excited to start reading this particular series. I think this is going to be maybe next on my reading list because, man, this looks kind of cool. And I feel like it's going to have me on the edge of the seat. I got this for pretty cheap. I think I got the full set for about $20 plus shipping, tax and shipping, which is not terrible for 5 volumes. Like, if it's terrible, $20 was, or let's say $30 was not a huge commitment for it. So yeah, Tokyo Boys and Girls, volume 1 through 5. So next, we are going to be moving into our smut section. I know we didn't have any last month. I just really didn't pick up any smut last month, but we got a decent little selection of smut this month, even though our haul is kind of small compared to previous months. So our first bit of smut is the Honey Trap Shared House Volumes 1 and 2. There are actually 4 volumes out of this book right now, and I have not been able to really put my hands on them just yet. My local Barnes & Noble doesn't have them. I think I'm going to probably order them because I don't trust Amazon. My shit always comes in messed up. Anyway, this one is essentially about a guy and a girl who lived in the same orphanage when they were kids. They end up being separated. They both turn into assassins, but they work in different organizations. They also kind of have a thing for each other as well. They basically end up working the same job for these opposing factions or whatever, and a bunch of hijinks ensue. A bunch of other girls get introduced. This is straight up smut. It looked kind of fun. I actually read part of volume 1, or I think I watched a manga recap on YouTube, and it was pretty interesting for me, for my taste. And it's not like super smutty. It's not as smutty as the next thing that I'm going to show you on this list. Now, obviously, I'm not going to flip through this because I do not want to get snatched off of YouTube for it, but I definitely think it's an interesting story with a fairly interesting premise, even if it doesn't do anything but devolve into like basically a harem or like everybody chasing after this one guy wanting to be with this guy. But I think the assassin portion of it, them all being in opposing factions, makes it a little bit more interesting. And so I'm here for the blazing guns and maybe for the boobs too. Anyway, Honey Trap Shared House, one of the smut books I picked up this month. Now, the next bit of smut I picked up was from one of my favorite smut series, Do You Like Big Girls? Now, I picked up the volumes 3 and 4 omnibus, but for Christmas, I also got singles of volumes 3 and 4. Now, I'm going to send back volume 3 because it has the same cover as the omnibus does, but I am going to keep volume 4 because, I mean, I hope I don't get snatched off of YouTube for this cover, but like, nothing really showing. So, but I like this cover, so I'm gonna keep it because I like the cover. I mean, because you feel me? You feel me? You feel me, right? Anyway, yeah, I picked up the omnibus from Barnes & Noble. I think this might be literally the last book I picked up from Barnes & Noble for the year. I was super excited to get this. I've been waiting nearly 6 months for this to come out. I think the first omnibus came out in like August or September. So yeah, nearly 6 months to get this one. They've been coming out pretty slow, and there are only like 8 single volumes out. You could literally just buy the singles. But I figured since I already got one omnibus, I would just stick to the omnibus format. But I do like this cover, and I think that's probably what I would do with this series is keep buy the singles and covers I like, or maybe the opposing covers to the omnibus, just to kind of have them because the covers are kind of cool for smut. Anyway, Do You Like Big Girls? It's nasty. It's basically corno, you know what I'm saying? I had to think about the word I want to say. It's basically corno. I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm a better man than I am, because I'm not. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a comedy series, but it definitely has some like weird themes. So if you're not into smut, and if you're definitely not here to, read some very like weird smut, don't bother with it. But at least all the characters are adults. So Do You Like Big Girls Omnibus 3-4, and also the single of volume 4. Shout out to Jessica for getting these for me. She got 4 books for me. 3 of them I have to send back because I already have them. I just haven't had time to send them back and pick something new. But, I shout out to her for even having the cojones to pick this up. So thank you so much. Anyway, yeah. So that's it for the smut. We're going to move back into some of our regular books. Okay, our next book is going to be this Frieren art book that I got imported straight from Japan. Shout out to my boy Taylor. I actually either have put out or I have coming out a video unboxing the items he picked up for me on his Japan trip. So make sure you check that out either now or when I drop it. I don't know which one's coming first. Probably be this one though. But yeah, just a simple art book, or maybe a little better than simple, but a nice little art book from Frieren. It's absolutely gorgeous. I also love the fact that everything is in color, like they are most art books. But it's like cool because I've been reading the manga. It's cool seeing some of these characters that I haven't seen in color yet in color. I think that's super dope. But it's just an absolutely gorgeous art book, and I'm very appreciative to have it. I almost actually bought this from Amazon, and I think they wanted like 35 or 40 bucks for it, and I think I still had to pay shipping for it. But yeah, Frieren art book, just really dope, and I love Frieren. As you may know,
from watching this channel. I talk about Frieren about as much as I talk about Oshinoko and how it's one of my favorites. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous art book. I would definitely recommend picking one up. I would imagine that this is gonna probably get translated and released in English sometime soon, in which case I'm probably gonna buy the English version as well. Not even going front with you. I'm probably gonna get the English one too. But yeah, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, art book. Now, this one is also an art book. This is from the My Dress Up Darling official anime fan book. What I thought was an interesting choice with this one is, one, it is hardcover. Two, they decided to do it in the more traditional left to right instead of right to left opening here. But I have never seen the My Dress Up Darling anime. Okay, to be fair, I've never seen an anime. I've only ever read the manga. But Barnes & Noble had, I think, like 50% off of their hardcovers during like the day after Christmas or whatever. So I ended up picking it up for that particular reason, and I have no complaints. It's a really, really like gorgeous art book, and it gives you like some really nice details of like the costumes and the characters, and you know, just really dope book. If you really want to like dig into the anime a little bit, I just thought this would be like a nice thing to collect. Though I would have liked it a little bit better if it was an art book based on the manga a little bit more, but this is fine. This is absolutely fine. It kind of reminds me of like those Disney art books from back in the day. Like, I mean, probably before a lot of you were born, to be completely honest with you, but they used to make these really cool, like hardcover, leather bound books of like Disney films. I remember I had this one from like Fantasia that was gorgeous, and this kind of reminds me of that. It's more of that style. Okay, and our next art book is going to be this Evangelion illustrations book from 2007 to 2017, just basically covering the rebuild years. And what I really loved about this book and what made me want to pick it up is the fact that it covers like all of the ads that they did for Evangelion during that time period. I mean, and there's some really cool stuff in there, and I just think a lot of the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. Now, in some ways, you get to see basically Evangelion getting completely pimped out, but I also think it's just kind of cool to see what weird collaborations they decided to tie this brand to. Now, for this story to be as, for lack of a better term, depressing as it is, and I think the rebuilds too, even though they had like a lot of hope to them at the end of them, I think the beginning parts of this story are as depressing as the originals. This gets attached to so many like normal ass brands. It's the weirdest thing ever. I don't know why it's that way, but I guess it's just because Evangelion is so beloved. But yeah, this was like a really great art book. I actually like the way it's bound too. Unlike some of those other books, you can kind of see how easy it is for me to flip through this book. Like, it's bound really well, like in a way where it's just like maneuverable. So I absolutely love that. But yeah, this has been one of my favorite art books I picked up. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend this if you have any love or passion for Evangelion. I think this is a must have, if not to just see the weird collaborations they do with the Eva franchise. Okay, and last but most certainly not least, we have the handful of action books that I picked up for December, and that's going to start with Tank Chair Volume 2. Now, I did end up reading Tank Chair Volume 1, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is like a B movie to me. It is straight up insane. It's funny, it's violent, it's gory, it's fucking Tank Chair. What do you expect with a name like that? But the long and short of it is, this girl's brother, which is this guy right here, was an assassin. He ends up getting, paralyzed from the waist down, ends up being super depressed, basically comatose. And he can only really get up and be active when he senses killing intent. And so this girl is basically trying to find a cure for that, for him, basically. So she puts him in all these dangerous situations to kind of like wake him up, hoping that one of them will be the one to wake him up
permanently, and their hijinks ensue. Now, I haven't read Tank Chair Volume 2 quite yet, but I'm expecting it to be crazy, especially the way they left off. They were like battling someone who was like pretty difficult for them to fight. And so I'm interested to see how that fight ended. I'm trying not to spoil myself too much by showing you guys what's going on in here. But if you like just crazy, mindless action with like enough story to get you over the hump, this is not a world breaker. You might even forget about it right after you read it, but it's still like a very fun read. I would definitely at least say read it online because it is a really, really fun ride. Now, conversely, I picked up Shizumaki in the Land of Peace, Volume 1, and this is actually more of a slice of life than like a action one, though there are quite a few fights in it. This is a very interesting concept for a manga. What if a kid was kidnapped on a hijacked plane, taken back overseas, indoctrinated with a terrorist group, spends his whole life doing terrorist acts basically, and then runs away, escapes from that, and moves back home to Japan? Well, that's pretty much what this story is about. Kind of like think that old show that used to come on Showtime called Homeland, but a little bit different. Anyway, Shizumaki basically did all of that, came back home. He's living with a group of people who were basically a part of that particular organization that ran away. They're all hiding from the organization because, you know, the organization is trying to find them. And on top of that, they're trying to live like normal ass lives. And you can imagine just how difficult that probably is for them. And it just ask a lot of really interesting questions. Like, after you do all this stuff, are you allowed to even live a normal life? Like, can you live a normal life? You know, how can you use those skills for good? How do you integrate into society and, you know, with all of this trauma attached to you? And that's kind of like what this is going through. And sometimes it's lighthearted, sometimes it's not, but it really is a very interesting kind of political thriller in a lot of ways. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more volumes of this. I believe this story is still ongoing right now. And there's so many twists and turns even in this first volume. The artwork is very interesting, kind of quirky a little bit, a little off the beaten path, but still very good. I had a good time reading it. I was really surprised at where it went to. Okay, and our next book is gonna be Reanima. This one just released towards the middle of December, I want to say. And this one has a simple, well, relatively simple kind of sci-fi-esque principle. Basically, the earth is too hot. Everybody lives underground. They use robots that look like them on the surface. And, you know, essentially, you can imagine what kind of trouble that gets into. Now, I haven't read this yet, but from what I know, I believe this character and another one are essentially like what would equate to like police or enforcers or whatever, you know, for this particular world or whatever. And, you know, they're looking into something. Obviously, I haven't read it, so I don't know everything that's going on, but I thought the artwork was kind of interesting and I thought the plot was kind of interesting, something I might want to check out. And I've been looking to add more action to like the fold or whatever, so I'm hoping this one's pretty good. I believe it was only like maybe 14 bucks, and it's a pretty thick one. I mean, it's, you know, coming in right around 200 pages, so it's a pretty thick one and it's pretty dense, so I feel like I'm gonna at least get my money's worth. So I'm kind of excited to read this. The cover looks pretty cool. The premise looks pretty cool, and I've heard some pretty decent things about this. I don't think any of the manga tubers are talking about this one quite yet, but I definitely have, like, just looking online, because I always kind of look stuff up, and it seems like people that actually read this do enjoy it. So I'm excited to dig in and see what's going on with it. And last but certainly not least, we finally got another volume of Inuyasha, this time Inuyasha Volume 8. Now, I skipped over Volume 7 because Volume 8 was only, I think, $15 on Amazon, and we'll kind of circle back and get Volume 8 at some time. It's Inuyasha. You probably know what it's about. One thing that I do want to complain about is that my spine came in dinged up down here at the bottom, and I just really did not feel like sending it back. I probably could have sent it back, but I didn't feel like sending it back. But yeah, the journey to collect all the volumes of Inuyasha continues. And I guess eventually, at some point, we might be able to get all of them. But yeah, Inuyasha, not really much to say about it. So that's all the volumes that we picked up. Now back to Cartoon Marcus.
Well, there you have it. Another great month of pickups. So let me know in the comments if there is anything in there that you liked, anything you found interesting, anything that you did not know was coming out or was out, something that you might want to read yourself or you have already read. I want to talk. That's what the comment section is for. It's for discussion. So let's talk it all out. Hop down there and let me know what it is that you were vibing with. Now, looking ahead, I have quite a few more videos planned out for you guys coming up in the coming weeks. We are not stopping. We got the train running. I am super motivated actually to put these videos out for you. And this is 1000% quality content just for you guys. So what I need for you to do is all the YouTube stuff. Click that like button, click that subscribe button. Let me know that you fox with your boy the long way so I can continue delivering you that fire content that I know you love. I do everything from anime reviews, manga hauls, manga vlog, figure unboxings, all of that good stuff. So yeah, we're here to cover the whole space. We're not leaving no stones unturned. You know what I'm saying? We got something, a little something for everybody, a little bit of flavor for everybody. You feel me? And like I always say, let's continue to talk about the things that we like, the things that we don't, and everything in between. And until next time, peace.